What's up, family? Welcome back to another episode of the One Fourth Careers Podcast. I'm Xavier, your host, and I'm here with EJ. EJ graduated from Alabama A&M University with a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and Government in 2019. He also earned his MBA from Alabama A&M University in 2021. Professionally, EJ has served the City of Birmingham in the mayor's office and on the mayor's re-elect campaign. Now, EJ is earning his JD at Samford University's Cumberland School of Law, expected to graduate in 2026. EJ, what's going on, family? Appreciate you stopping by, brother.
Man, how you doing? I'm doing good, my brother. I cannot complain. I'm blessed beyond measure to be sitting down with you today to have this conversation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, it's really good to get you out. I call you Mr. Worldwide because that boy be traveling.
This
How
man,
your summer going, man? Everything smooth?
man, the summer is off to a great start. Well, it's ending now, but it's a good start, man. I had the opportunity to study abroad. I'm currently doing some work here in Birmingham and just getting ready to kick things back off in August. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. Man, so I'm really excited about this conversation. You're the first person who has worked in government in the way that you have, and you're also the first person who's on this journey towards earning your JD. So there's just so much opportunity in this conversation, and I'm always excited because I also learned from this episode too. So I know you personally, same chapter. Shout out to DG, man.
Come
Shout
on
out
now.
to A&M. Shout out to the Hill. Come from very similar beginnings, but I still think there's just so much I'm going to learn from you in this conversation. So tell me and the viewers and listeners a little bit more about your background. How did you get to where you are?
Yeah, man. So I am from the great state of Birmingham. Of course, yes, Birmingham. You heard what I said, the great state.
There you go.
We are a blueberry and tomato soup, as a lot of people like to call it. So Birmingham is definitely not Alabama, what you think of traditionally Alabama. And that comes along, man, with this. It's it comes along with its perks, but it also comes along with its challenges. So just to kind of jump back to show you where I got from, I had always been involved in government, had always been interested in government, but mainly from the outside looking in. Like I would always watch the news with my now deceased grandpa, but we would just always sit and watch the news and eat peanuts. And then in 10th grade, I had the opportunity to get engaged on a political action committee. And what that is basically, it's a group of people who come together for this whatever cause it is or candidate, and they put money toward these candidates. We had like 5 candidates, and one of those candidates actually worked out to become my mentor. And from there, man, that relationship in 10th grade has paid dividends throughout my life, man. Went on from there. I knew I wanted to go to college, so kind of put my head down. Learned where I could and prepared myself where I could, and I landed, earned a spot at Alabama A&M. Actually got an academic and a band scholarship. So that's another thing, man. Just worked and did some things at Alabama A&M. Was drum major. I was on SGA, of course, as you mentioned. Pledged Alpha, also pledged Kappa Kappa Psi. So just really just try to be involved, broaden my horizons. So that way, when I did graduate, I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but I wanted to give myself the greatest opportunity to pivot, or whatever opportunities came my way, I would be prepared for them. From there, man, I knew I wanted to go to law school, but I wasn't ready because I did all those things during undergrad. And so A&M had this, I think it was at the time, I think it was called 3+1 program. So I had already earned credits toward actually obtaining an MBA. And so for all the political science majors out there, you like, what am I going to do with a political science degree? It's a lot of things that you can do with it. We're going to continue to talk about that. I think Xavier has some more questions. But I wanted to gain some more technical skills, or some more left brain versus right brain. I feel like I think poli sci and BA is more right brain, and getting an MBA is more left brain. So I wanted to learn about accounting, about finance, just to diversify myself and make myself the most attractive candidate to whatever company or person I would be working with or working for, or even if I decided to start my own business. I wanted to just diversify myself. In addition, I wasn't ready to go to law school, so I had to find something to do. So that worked out. That worked out, man. And I landed a job in Birmingham, working with the current mayor on his reelection campaign, and then from there, um, City Hall. So
Well, it's time to go and drop the mic, man. I think we done. I feel like you
yeah, bro, I
already
said
kind of
everything.
dropped some gems in there.
Yeah, I said everything.
No
That's it,
light
man.
work.
Be cool, be smooth.
Yeah, peace out. Light work, man. So, I mean, my guy sounds hungry. You feel me? Like driven, focused, intentional, methodical, agile, adapting to whatever you need and at the right time. Well, before we get ahead of ourselves, before we jump to all the richness that we want to talk about, we got to hit a step back, man. It's our first segment here at One Fourth Careers Podcast. I need to hit a step back. You mentioned some of your adolescent years, experiences, things that you were involved in, mentorship. What did you actually want to be when you were younger?
Man, when I was younger, so I actually want to be a firefighter, but that's like
Mm,
it's like elementary school. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh yeah, I
yeah.
want to be a firefighter. But like I said, just sitting down with my granddad and like being involved in local politics, I knew I wanted to do something in politics. I didn't know if that was like being an executive,
Hmm.
um, meaning like mayor or president or governor or anything like that. But I know I wanted to do something in politics. Now, as we sit here in the year of our Lord 2024, I know I do not want to be at the forefront of politics. Just seeing what I've seen, I know I don't want to do that. But that is ultimately what I wanted to do at that time in my life.
Okay. I appreciate you sharing that. So tell me now, what was it like working with the mayor, working in government in the way that you did? And then separately, also share a little bit about what it's like being a JD candidate. So touch on both of those.
For sure, man. So just jumping back to 10th grade, man. So I mentioned that the political action committee that I worked on, it was called
Mhm.
CARE at the time. Citizens are responsible for education. So we were running 5 candidates for the Birmingham School Board. And I'm proud to stand here to say I think we elected 4 of those 5, which is pretty awesome. But one of those candidates at the time was the current mayor of Birmingham, Randall Woodfin. He was a young guy, but he at the time was everything that I thought I wanted to be. He was educated. The brother was smooth. He was dressing, suited and booted. Um, but he listened to the type of music I wanted to listen to. Like this was 2013, so he was bumping Versace with the Drake feature on it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? You could be dressed, suited and booted, and doing, doing all the things that you need to do in life, and also be quote unquote of the culture or still be authentically who you are. So
Yeah.
that spoke to me, man. And I think I just really gravitated toward him as far as him being a mentor. And he was receptive, man. So we both found value in each other. He saw how hard I was working on that campaign at the time. So that's a nugget I'll drop for people as well, man. Any space you in, always be trying to find a way to add value. And people will see that and they will gravitate towards you, man. They will want to continue to pour into you because they see that you're pouring into them.
Mm,
So from there, man, the school I went to, we had like an externship program, and I also shout out him. He was a lawyer at municipal court. I shout out him there. I was like, okay, I think I kind of like this law thing. Like I have a little bit of interest in like law/government, but I'm not really sure. And then the guy said he wanted to run for mayor. Everybody thought he was crazy at the time. The incumbent was like of the old guard,
mhm.
and it was his time, and everybody felt like it wasn't, Randall's time. But I believed him, man. Like he was my mentor. I'm like, I'm working on your first campaign. And he made me what we call a district organizer. So that just means you're responsible for a certain area of the city, like going and knocking on doors and having like political like uh focus groups, kind of, I guess is what you would call
Yeah.
it, um, in layman's terms. And this what I was in. I was a rising junior, so I was a rising junior. A&M, man, wet behind the ears. He gave me that responsibility. But again, his first campaign, he saw that I added value where I was, man. Like I was knocking on doors. I think I had like some of the top voter engagement, and from
Mhm.
there, when I graduated with my MBA, you know, he thought back to, okay, he added this value to my campaign in 2017. So let's bring him back. So I get a call, man, at 6 o'clock in the morning, after finishing up the semester, my last semester for my MBA, and he's like, "What you doing in the spring?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, I have a few job opportunities lined up, but like, what's up?" He was like, "Man, I want you
Yeah.
to help me run my campaign." And I'm like, "Work your campaign?" He was like, "No, like run my campaign." And he offered me a job on leadership as his deputy campaign manager. I didn't know anything about that. Basically, what that role entails is you're basically the manager. You over staff. So I was over the field team. Our field team consisted of 9 field organizers, and we had a host of volunteers. They also had staff, and then we had a bunch of interns
Mhm.
and fellows as well. So we talking about a group of like 30 paid people as well as
Mhm.
hundreds of volunteers. And I'm wet behind the ears, but again, preparation. I got a quote that always says, preparation prevents piss poor performance. So I prepared myself by doing all those things at A&M in leadership, and that translated over toward me being able to step into that role after never working that role before. And again, we end up winning his reelection campaign. It was like 8 people in the race, man. We won something like 65% of the vote, which is unheard of. Um,
Mhm.
and again, I added value to that space, and I was fortunate enough to get another call. He was like, "Hey, I want you to come work in my administration as a excuse me, not as a executive assistant." Which is much different from the role I had on the campaign, because that was a
Mhm.
managerial role, and this was support staff. But I was grateful, man, and the pay came along with it, so that was great as well.
I love that. I love that. I love that, man. So, how did you transition from there to being a JD candidate, and how does that differ in your experiences from doing those paid opportunities where you were working full time to what you're currently doing?
Yeah, man, just going back to the preparation aspect. A lot of people talk about luck, and you and I have had this conversation about
Mhm.
luck. I think you said luck was what was that? What was the quote? Luck
Being
was
prepared for opportunities.
That's right. That's right. So I was all the opportunities I had up until that point was me being prepared for those opportunities to fall in my lap.
Yeah.
Um, and they made sense at the time. Like, I'm coming out of college, I want to make some money, some decent money, um, and impact my community in a way that I probably wouldn't be able to impact my community. But I
Mhm.
also had a plan. I also knew that, like, hey, I want to go to law school at some point. I want to graduate with my Juris Doctor before I turn 30. So that plan had always been in the back of my mind. In my last role, working as the mayor's deputy campaign manager, excuse me, working as the mayor's executive assistant,
Mhm.
I enjoyed the role, man. The benefits are great, the pay was great, but you know, you have to be real with yourself in your career and find opportunities for growth. So if you're in a position where, like, okay, this is great, like where I am now is amazing, but if you know that you have personal plans in your life, like, hey, one day I want to have a wife, one day I want to have kids, one day I want to have the house, the car, or whatever it is that your goals are, you have
Yeah.
to look at the career you're in and say, like, hey, is there room for me to grow here? And if the answer is no, then you got to start figuring out ways to pivot. And for me, there I didn't see a room for me to grow in that specific position. Maybe somewhere else, but again, like I said, I always knew I wanted to go to law school. And even taking that job, man, just him being my mentor, he knew that I wasn't going to stay there long. He was like, "Hey,
Mhm.
I want you to be a part of my administration, but I don't want you to give up on your goals." And those are the type of mentors that you want to surround yourself with, not just people that are looking to extract value from you, but are
Yep.
also there to help you along the way. You know what I'm saying? And that spoke volumes, man. That was just I'm shaking to think about it, because a lot of people aren't like that. They're like, well, get it how you live, and I'll be here if you got any questions.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But
Facts.
he was literally like, hey, come do this with us, but at the same time, don't give up on your goals, man. And they gave me the space that I needed to eventually study for the law school admissions test, to apply for law schools, and then eventually go off to law school, man. And that was one of the greatest working environments. At the City of Birmingham was one of the greatest working environments I've ever been in, because everybody just wrapped their arms around me, man. And I know in the Black community, we always use this, always like family, you know what I'm saying? Everything is like family.
Mhm.
Everything doesn't have to be like family, but this was, and it felt amazing. It felt amazing, man. So when I left, they actually threw me a going away party, and all of the attorneys that were at the city, they just kind of like wrapped their arms around me and gave advice. So it was amazing, man.
Yeah, I love that. I think I've learned from my current role being where I'm at, really good leaders, they don't let go of good talent. Hey, I
That's
see you. You drive amazing value. I'm not letting you go. But the best leaders are the ones who know when it's time for you to move on, and they care about you and they want you to be fulfilled. Hey, as much as I want you to stay, as much value as I know I can get from you, I want to make sure that you feel also poured into and your cup is full with your goals. So I think there is a distinction. No matter who's watching and listening, there is a difference in how you pour into other people. And there are levels to this.
and
So
that's
I really appreciate you sharing that.
not for sure, man. That's how you build the greatest team around you. If
Mhm.
you and this is just for people going into leadership as well. If you have a team full of people that nobody wants, you probably don't have a good team. Like I'm saying again, if you got a team full of people that nobody else trying to pick or get,
Right.
you probably don't have a good team. And that's another thing I learned at the city. Like you want to get the people, and good people don't stay long because they always have opportunity. So
Mhm.
if you got somebody that's good, like give them room to come in, do what needs to be done, and you need to be expecting them in your head, like, okay, this person probably gonna be here maybe 2 or 3 years because they're so good. You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
if you want mediocre people on your team, you got to understand that you're gonna get a mediocre product. But if you want good people on your team, you're gonna get a good product. But you also have to understand that that doesn't come with longevity. So.
That's right. That's right. Okay, I appreciate that. Now, tell me, in the variety of roles that you've been in, you've already kind of described how you acquired those opportunities, how you matriculated into school, how you started these roles serving the city of Birmingham. Talk to me about some of the skills that you've had to leverage across all your professional experiences.
Oh man. Um,
It's a long list, I know.
it- it's a long list, but it's actually, I can sum it up in one word, and that is communication. Like
Okay.
building a career is like building a good relationship. You have to
Hmm.
communicate, man, and that's one of the things. Being in leadership or also being in a support role is being able to communicate your needs. I'm gonna tell a funny story, and it's when I first, like my first few months at the city of Birmingham. I have an issue with time. And it's crazy because all the things I've done, but I've just always had an issue with time being where I need to be at a good time. I'm working to get better with that, and that's, don't, folks, don't let that be a crutch that you rely on, but always work to try to get better on that. But one day I was late for work. I can't remember. I was it was crazy, like 30 minutes late or something like that. And my supervisor as supervisor at the time sat me down. She like, "Hey EJ, let's have a conversation." And I'm like, "Oh, she gonna want to talk to me about me being late." And she came in. She said, "Hey, I understand things happen. You know, things happen with me all the time, but I can't help you if you don't help me." And what she meant by that was, you got to communicate with me. If you're gonna be late, let me know, and then I can pull somebody else from where I need to pull them, or I can, whatever conversation I need to have with the mayor, I can have it, or or even if I need to cover for you, I can have that. But always be willing to communicate with the folks on your team, and don't be
Hmm.
afraid of it. And if you're on the team where you don't feel like you can communicate and be honest with those folks, you probably don't need to be on that team. You probably need to find somewhere else to be.
Mm.
So communication is key, man. Professionally and personally, communication is key. um I'm looking over because I have some notes here. The next thing is adaptability. You mentioned that at the beginning of the show, and it's funny because that's what I was thinking, man. Always be willing um to be a point and place person. That's all. When I say adding value to the space you're in, that's like 50% of adding value, man. Always be willing and flexible to jump in where you need to be to jump in. Because a lot of people are like, oh, that's not my role. I'm not gonna do it. And I'm not saying allow people to take advantage of you, but what I'm saying is allow yourself to be flexible. Don't be so rigid to where you miss out on the opportunity, if that makes
That's
sense.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last one, man, is add value to the space. Always find ways to add value to the space. I know some of the people on this that'll be listening to this episode are people that are not in their careers yet, but are interns or externs.
Hmm.
As an intern or extern, man, or you in a clerkship or whatever it is, or you in med school, you doing a residency, always find a way to add value to the space. A lot of times being in those roles, and it just depends on the career path, but for my career path, it's easy to find you a corner, sit there for 6 weeks, a month, two
Hmm.
months 3 months, and then maybe you collect the check, maybe you don't, and then you out of there. They
Yep.
make a little party for y'all, then you out of there, and you probably gonna never hear from those folks again because yeah, you were nice, what I'm saying, you were personable, but you didn't add value to the space. And the other half of adding value to the space is, hey, go talk to people, go in their office, like, hey, is there any projects that you could find, what I'm saying, that you may need some help on? Is there anything that I could be doing, or like, hey, how does this work, how's this thing, what is this thing all about? I remember I had a internship at the City of Birmingham, and I fell into that trap. First 3 weeks I was just kind of like sitting in the office, nobody came to talk to me,
Hmm.
I was just there. And you read different things, and I think the city had like this uh request for proposal they were putting out for some project they were doing. So I was interested in it. So I went to the what is this man's title? Chief strategist or something like that. It was like chief
Okay.
strategist or either the chief of staff. And I went and asked him, I'm like, hey, can you explain to me, like, how this works? Why does the council have to vote on this thing to get passed, and why X, Y, and Z? And I mean, man, his face lit up because one, nobody probably ever approached him. Two, he got a chance to get away from his work, and three, he was probably just excited that I wanted to know about it. And again, I would like to think that that's one of the reasons why I am where I am today is because of conversations like that.
Yeah. I love that. Something that speaks to something that you mentioned before around communication, whether it's imposter syndrome, whether it's having a fear of looking dumb, looking crazy, or a fear retaliation of being in trouble. A lot of us, and maybe also within our community, just our upbringing, like you're used to. I know I'm getting a whooping later. I know I'm in trouble later, so I'm just not gonna say nothing. To an extent, some of that stuff carry over to the workplace, man. And what I've learned in my career, because that was also me, a lot of times there are things that maybe I don't articulate, I don't share with my team that, hey, I'm struggling, or hey, this is going on, because I don't want y'all to think I'm dumb. Like, I don't want y'all to think I can't handle it. I don't want y'all to think I'm not, performing to the standard and above. But what I learned is over communication, if you're working with good team members, it shows that you care. It shows that you're thinking ahead and you're saying, hey, no matter what my situation is, I care about the product and the service that our team performs and puts out. So I want y'all to have the opportunity to pick up my slack if I'm slacking. And
Right.
I think that's something to really keep in mind when you talk about communication. So I think that was really important, man. And I appreciate you talking about those skills and being open and transparent about your experiences as well and what you're pouring into the audience. Now I want to ask you about programs and associations. It seems that you have really transitioned through a lot of environments, through a lot of thriving cultures, and working with a lot of different people. What are some programs and associations you were a part of that you observed that you feel really helped propel you to where you are that maybe other people can consider as well on their journey?
I would implore. I guess I'll break this down two ways. One, for anybody that's an undergraduate, find in undergrad, excuse me, find ways to get involved. Um, Leadership experience is probably some of the best experience you could ever get because it's transferable to so many different things. So
Yeah.
whether it's a club, whatever club you're in, um, join it. Whatever you're passionate about. For my political science majors, If you're interested in going to law school, join the pre-law society, join the pre-law club if you have that at your school. And if you don't, whatever city you're in, I'm sure it's more than one college. Find a college that does, or a regional pre-law program. I mean, we have Zoom and all these different virtual options now that you can join. You don't have to be
Yeah.
in the same city. Um, your student government association. It's we're recording this on a crazy day today because President Joe Biden just dropped out of the presidential race. Um, but I think it's important for all people, man, to be involved in the political process. Politics, I always say, is a participatory sport. So you can't sit back every 4 years and jump in and vote for a president and think that's going to change anything. You can't even sit back every 2 years and vote for president and maybe your legislator the next 2 years and think that's going to change anything. You can't just vote every year and think that's going to change anything. You have to do things outside of this, like having conversations like we're having right now, political discourse with people that don't think like you do is very important. And finding any way to be engaged on a local level as well is extremely important. So I would say do those things, man, and then find you a mentor. And and the funny thing about it is, and you probably can attest to this. I know love Miss Clayton. She just retired, but Miss Clayton, in our career development services, she used to always preach this as well. Like, find you a mentor, and you don't got to be weird about it. You ain't got to go send this formal thing like, oh, I would really like you for to be my mentor. You know what I'm saying? Check the box for yes or check the box for no. Like, you don't have to be like that, but find somebody, like I said, that you just naturally gravitate to and naturally gravitates to you, but you have to nourish that relationship. You have to call them, or they may have to call you if whatever issues you may have in your career or any questions you may have about a career. Like, those things, people love to talk. People love to hear themselves talk, which is why you hear me keep going on and on. But have those conversations, and you just never know what dividends those relationships will pay on down the line. Because I can think of several relationships that have paid so many dividends in my life. I'm trying to think any other professional organizations. I think that's it. That's it. I'm gonna think of some later on in the interview, and it won't matter. But that's it.
Right. No, for sure. And I mean, honestly, another plug is when you all think about different clubs and organizations, fraternities, sororities, stuff like that as well, that help network and are in so many ways a professional asset for you. Any associations, anything you can join that has a larger network to it is a tremendous asset, whether you're going to college or you live in a different state, something where when you can travel somewhere, you can still potentially have a network around you who may be connected through your membership to other organizations. So that's also another plug. And as we transition, I want to know a little bit about the different backgrounds you have observed in the different roles you've been in, people who want to kind of work within those areas, because you, poli sci, government, MBA, for some people that may seem like the perfect credentials, if you will, for what you're trying to do. And now you're going to law school. It's like, dang, my God, getting all the things you really need. But for people who maybe aren't in poli sci, aren't in government, don't have their MBA, aren't going to law school, is that the only way for them to take up space in the areas that you have professionally? Or have you seen other backgrounds represented as well?
Man, not at all. I wanted to jump back to that last question though, because I just thought I want to
Yeah,
be specific to my government political science folks, because sometimes it's harder for us to find opportunity.
put them
Um,
on.
man, local governments, nonprofit organizations, um, private organizations always have some form of outreach. So if it's your local government, man, they have like a civic engagement. A lot of government, local municipalities now are doing civic engagement academies, to where people from the community can come in and see how things work. That is the perfect way to get yourself out there. One, to learn how things work, but also get in
Mhm.
front of some of your elected officials outside of a transactional role. Because a lot of these elected officials, man, people only come to them when they need something. And they only come to people sometimes when they need something. But if you uh reap those benefits from those opportunities, that's a great way to start building relationships. So start thinking about those things, or any campaigns that you see going on that of a candidate that aligns with your values. Find a way to
Mhm.
volunteer on their campaign. You know what I'm saying? You just never know. You may be working for the next mayor or president of the United States. So back
Do
to
that.
the question at hand, was what was the type of backgrounds that are in my field. So I'll start with government and then I'll go into law.
Okay.
Government is a little more rigid, and it just depends on what level of government you're in. So if you want to be a legislator, so that's like a state house of representative person, a congressional, a federal congressional person, or a city council. Most of those folks come from a number of different backgrounds because you're
Okay.
elected. You know,
Mhm.
you're an elected official, so it's not like you have to be. I think the only requirement is that you're a natural born citizen, or that you're a citizen. Sometimes not even natural born. You just had to be a citizen for X, Y, and Z place for so long, and
Mhm.
that you're of age. So as long as you have those two requirements, you're good. A lot of people here in Alabama, man. I mean, we got attorneys, engineers. Uh, I mean, we have people that come from the boating industry. A lot of people elected in Mobile. Some people from the middle of the state, man, that are they have a background in agriculture. So it's a lot of people from a lot of different areas, man, um,
Mhm.
that are involved in politics. Um, and on the municipal government side, it's so many different people from different areas. So like the city of Birmingham, for example, we have a department of um, economic opportunity and innovation. That's basically our economic development office. We have a housing department. We
Mhm.
have a housing and urban development department. We got a legal department. We have a planning, permits, and engineering department. So all those people, it's in the name. Of course, there are
Yep.
engineers who are in these departments.
Mhm.
We also have a social justice department, and those folks come from the nonprofit organizing world. So it's just a different people, and there's so many different career paths that you can get into, quote unquote, government or politics. Um,
Yeah.
it's really open to the people, man, as it should be, and I think that's the thing that's what it was designed for. And law is the same way. You can go to law school. You don't have to have a political science degree. Most
Yep.
of us, you have a political science degree because for whatever reason, people tell you, oh, you got to major in poli sci to go to law school, or you got a minor in English, which was my path, and it did help me out a little bit. But you don't have to, man. I mean, we got
Mhm.
like you and I were talking. We have engineering majors who are going to be taking the patent bar, and they're going to become IP, intellectual property lawyers, and patent attorneys. We got people that majored in uh, animal sciences. We got people that majored in, like I said, political science. We got people that majored in art and communications. Like one of the top students at Cumberland is a young lady who's actually her first career was a thespian, and she did plays and things of that nature, and those skills actually are very transferable if you want to be a trial attorney. So it's just you have so many different
Yeah.
areas, man. Just find somewhere that can diversify you, make you competitive, and
Mhm.
also most importantly somewhere that you like.
Okay, get in where you fit in, y'all.
Man,
But it's really important just for a lot of the viewers and listeners to know that you have options and you are not stuck. I just want you to understand that you're not stuck. There is a path for you to do what you're interested in. Don't think, especially if you're younger, don't think just because you committed yourself to studying something that dictates exactly what you're going to do. I was there. But that's not the case. And it's very beautiful for you all to know, if you didn't know already, that you have options. You are empowered. Go find the answers. Stay curious. Be ambitious. You can do all of those. You are not restricted by the confines of the structure that we in society have created for you. Now, this is really important. This is one of my favorite questions of each show, is to ask if you could go back to yourself in undergrad and provide yourself with any advice that better prepares you for where you currently are professionally, personally, wherever you want to take it. What does that advice look like for a younger EJ?
oh, it's tough. So I used to tell people, like, and I say this, I used to tell people like last year, If I could say anything, I would go back and tell myself, don't spread yourself too thin, because I did a lot. I talked about all the leadership roles and the fraternities and all those things. I just feel like I
Mhm.
did a lot, and I wasn't ready to go to law school. But also, like, I feel like because I did a lot, that brought me a lot of opportunity. So I
The
wouldn't.
trade-off.
And that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't trade anything. It was a quote somebody posted the other day. It said that if you could go back and correct all of your previous mistakes, you would lose yourself. You would disappear, because those
True.
things are what makes you you.
Yeah.
I know that's very like pie in the sky and like very idealistic, but I'm so serious, man. I wouldn't. I guess I would just say, like, live in the moment a little bit more. Live in the
Mhm.
moment a little bit more. Um, and don't do things for the sake of just doing them. Do them for with a purpose, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Um,
It makes a
yeah.
lot of
So,
sense.
yeah.
It makes a
So
lot of
those,
sense because
yeah.
I think one of the biggest affirming pieces of advice that I have for a lot of folks is to just be intentional. Do your due diligence to be intentional, to be aligned with the choices that you're making. I'm one of those people. I think you have buckets of folks who don't have any regrets and people who do have plenty of regrets. I feel I've been a little bit more on the side of not having many regrets just because, you make a decision, you're convicted in it. You thought a lot about it. Being an
That's right.
overthinker, you're like, every time I do something, I think through it rather deeply, but just being really intentional about what you're doing. And for those who have those type A personalities who stress a lot about, I don't know if this is the right thing or if this is really what I want to do, be convicted, be intentional, be aligned to your purpose in terms of why you're doing what you're doing, and then roll with it, live with it, and just embrace kind of where you are, be where your 2 feet are. So I appreciate you talking about some of the advice you would give yourself. I think it's really meaningful and powerful for a lot of people. Now I want to go to our next segment called the 3 piece. So being from the South, we foodies, 3 piece of this, 3 piece of that, hot lemon pepper, whatever it is, whatever you getting. You feel me?
Come on
I
now.
need a 3 piece about your career, my brother. I need you to
Oh,
give me 3 words that describe your career journey thus far.
preparation is number one.
Okay.
Hard work. We put them together. Hard
Yep.
dash work is one word.
Yeah.
Um, and then blessed, man. Blessed is blessed. I'm very churchy. If y'all haven't picked that up yet, I'm very churchy, and Jesus is my Lord and Savior. Um, but I really believe in blessings. So preparation, hard work, and blessing.
I like that. I appreciate that. That's some good stuff, man. That brings up a great recipe. Well, now tell me who or what inspires you. Very driven, been through a lot, done a lot of things. What has been your fuel to keep you going?
Family. I have my family is very tight knit, and we support each other. And I know that I am who I am, where I am, because of them, the sacrifices they've made, just the support they've given me and wrapped their arms around me.
Mhm.
So I know everything I'm doing, everything I will ever think about doing is because they were and are.
For sure. And in a year or two, so you're currently in law school. What will this fuel, this inspiration that you have from your family? Where do you see yourself in a year or two when you have that at the helm?
Man, up out of here, up out of here.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
So law school, man. Law school is a journey, man. It's very rough. They say your 1L or your first year is always the toughest. And it's definitely been a roller coaster. But I'm grateful because I've gotten everything that I wanted in spite of. It
Mhm.
has not been easy and it's not been smooth for me, which is a detour from how school usually goes for me.
Mhm.
But it's great, man. Currently, I'm clerking at a law firm here in Birmingham, and so upon graduation, I see myself finishing law school and working in my field, man, working in what I like to do. I really want to marry my two passions, law and government, and potentially practice economic development law, or either government regulations law. So
Didn't even know those existed.
amen.
Hey, but that's why we got this pod though. So also tell me this, man. This is a space where I want you to let the people know how they can get connected to some really interesting things and bring them awareness of things that you know are going on out there in your circle, people you know, or for yourself. I want this to be a space. In a moment, I'm gonna hand the mic over for you, man, to be a plug for anything special you see fit.
Yeah, man. So one of the things you guys should know about me is I'm very passionate about my community. If you didn't get the reference, the great state of Birmingham, man. But this is statewide if you're here in Alabama, and it's also nationwide because it's some public policy that's being pushed
Okay.
across the nation. Um, Recently, Alabama passed the Literacy Act, and basically what that means is if um, children that are in third grade are not reading at grade level, they'll be held back. 2 years ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, um, there was a 45%, 40+% of the children in third grade were reading at grade level, which means 60+% were not reading at grade level, and
Mhm.
those kids were in jeopardy of being held back. Um, so I implore you guys, we got to get these kids reading, man. If they are not being able to read, and the thing about this is, I'm all over the place with it, but I'm very passionate about it. Is that this disproportionately affects our kids? This affects Black and brown kids, um, and those kids often don't have the resources to get out of that hole. And once
Mhm.
they're in that hole, man, it affects their entire life. The cycle of poverty continues. So donate your time, man. And I implore you, if you're in Birmingham, we have this organization called Page Pals. It's through the city of Birmingham. And basically what it is you go read to and read with a third grader,
Mhm.
maybe once a week. You can set your own schedule. If you want to read to them every day of the week, you can do that.
Yep.
But this year, that score went from, I think it was 40% that was reading at grade level to like 85 or 86% reading at grade level, is because of
What?
the program. So I'm going to give out the website, man, and the website is behamyouthfirst.org. Again, that is behamyouthfirst.org. um Please join, man, please join. And if you're not in Beham, look up any kind of organization so where you can go in the schools, man, and tutor these kids in reading. I'm trying to think of what the organization called. I think it's STAIR. STAIR, like stairs. Um I think it's a national organization that got chapters in different cities, but they basically do the same thing, man. So find your local STAIR chapter, and give back your time. Again, that's birminghamyouthfirst.org. um and then the Numeracy Act is coming right behind it. So these kids, they can't do math either. So for all y'all engineers, I'm looking at you, Xavier. uh yeah, y'all go ahead and y'all jump in there and do your thing.
Got to. Y'all will find the links below, man. Tap in with these programs. EJ, I appreciate you plugging that. It is extremely important to have this call to action. That's exactly what the channel is for, as we are hoping to pour into our community and everybody who's tapping in with us. So, other than that, man, I appreciate you plugging that. So, what else do you have for the people? Anything else that's on your heart, on your mind, man?
Man, that's it, man. Y'all continue to do y'all thing, man. If you tapped into this, I know you on the right path because you actually care and you want to learn more. I'll leave you with this quote: preparedness prevents piss poor performance. So prepare yourself. Think about where you want to be in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and try your best um to set yourself up for success.
I love it. I love it, man. Well, I appreciate you, brother. We will be in touch. This was amazing. Thank you so much for stopping by. I give you your flowers, sir, for everything that you have done for communities, everything you continue to do. Wish you nothing but prosperity and keep taking care of yourself, man. I know you still probably, running yourself thin, but I know that you're having immense impact. So Take care of your mental, take care of your physical, and keep doing what you're doing out here in the world, brother. I appreciate you.
You too, my brother. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right. What another episode. I appreciate y'all so much for coming, stopping by, for checking out the episode, checking out the show. This was amazing. I really appreciate y'all stopping by. I hope that you all were able to take away some gems from what EJ had to share with y'all. His journey was one of a lot of success, one of a lot of reflection and intentionality. There are so many lessons that you can take away from it. For those who are interested in similar careers, which I am not, but hopefully for some of you, you are. I think that there is so much to pull away from his story. A lot of plugs for organizations, a lot of tactical things that you can do to act and potentially go similarly down the same route. Please share this with anyone who you feel that this may help, others who may be interested in this. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, share, do all the things. Hit the notification button. More episodes are on the way. Follow 1/4 Careers Podcast everywhere that we are. The links are below. All right, family. Stay happy. Stay blessed. Peace.